I have a distinct pleasure and honor tonight that both of our speakers are people that I admire and I respect and I honor, and they have been so important in my life. The first one is the Reverend Dr. Sheila McKeithen. And Dr. Sheila is an attorney. She's an author, a spiritual activist. She's an ordained minister. She leads a spiritual community in Kingston, Jamaica. She is also the president of the Johnny Coleman Theological Seminary and president of the Universal Foundation for Better Living. That was established in 1974 by the Reverend Dr. Johnny Coleman. And if you're not familiar with UFBL, you're missing something, because they are wonderful, put this way. I've never been around UFBL people that I didn't find myself admiring them. So that goes for the entire group. Dr. Sheila has also been inducted into the International Board of Preachers at the Morehouse College in 2001. She hosts an annual self-care retreat in September and is demanded as a speaker on issues related to spirituality, relationships, healing, financial freedom, forgiveness, and the power of love that enabled her to overcome a medical prognosis with less than 6 days to live. And that's been a long time ago. So, Reverend McKeithen's impactful work has garnered multiple accolades, including the 2026 Jamaican Women Pinnacle Award that also honored Jamaica's first female prime minister, the Honorable Portia Simpson Miller, and Sadia Marley. And I'm hoping that doing the Spanish pronunciation of Sadia, is that correct? Or good, thank you. Reverend Dr. McKeithen has also been awarded in 2022 the Black Women in Ministry Award, and was presented by President Obama's Ambassador at Large for Interreligious Affairs, the Honorable Susan Johnson Cook. She's been the recipient of the New Thought Walden Award for Interfaith and Intercultural Understanding. She's authored articles for the former Unity Magazine, INTA Journal, and the Science of Mind Magazine. She's the author of 12 Steps to Your Healing and a children's book, Johnny Toots His Horn. That one should be interesting. A contributing author to Bishop Vati McKee's Those Sisters Can Preach. She is the current president and social action chair of the Jamaica Alumni Chapter and has served 4 terms as Southwest Regional Chaplain, serving Jamaica, New Mexico, Louisiana, Texas, and Arkansas. On top of that tonight, it is my honor that I consider her my friend. I consider her, you're coming up. So yeah, I consider her my friend and someone that anytime she speaks, she has something to say. She has a wisdom and dedication tonight that will bless you.
Good evening, everybody. How are you? Can you hear me? Yes. Wow. So to Dr. Tim Stewart, chair tonight, Dave Worley, conference chair, board of directors, INTA, the INTA membership, Unity board of directors, if you're here, the staff, the ministers, the teachers, the practitioners, the guests, the friends, and my beloved sorority sisters of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority, Kansas City Alumni Chapter, who have come to support me. Good evening. Reverend Charles, I see you in the back. He's our minister in Miami. Bishop Jack Bomar from Hillside in Atlanta. I thank you so sincerely, all of you. Thank you very much. As president, I bring you greetings from the Universal Foundation for Better Living and its member ministries in the USA, Canada, and the Caribbean. I also bring a warm greeting, a tropical greeting, from the Universal Center of Truth for Better Living, the ministry I lead in Kingston, Jamaica. The island is still in recovery mode after Hurricane Melissa. And we are grateful to each of you who thought of us, who supported us, who prayed with us, offered assistance, financial and otherwise. I want to just thank you in the New Thought community and so many others who took action in support of communities and the assistance we've been able to offer to rebuild families, rebuild communities, rebuild homes. In my few moments with you, I want to share with you my thoughts on being empowered to wake up. Okay. As students of the New Thought spiritual philosophy, many of us are aware that May is the month of power. It is symbolized by Jesus' disciple, Philip, and power manifests in the region of the throat. As the vibration of our words passes over the throat, they are empowered, as the prophet Isaiah says, to not return to us void, but to accomplish whatever we have sent them to do. This is why our voice matters. As word of Hurricane Melissa blasted over the media, I've been speaking the word, peace be still. Peace be still. I spoke them not just for me, but for all of us, for people who may be experiencing climatic changes throughout the world. The storm was predicted to directly hit Kingston. It delayed its visit and then directly hit the northwestern end of the island, leaving it with no power, and for many, until 5 weeks ago, still no power, and some still have no power. While I was personally spared from the effects of the hurricane, I give thanks that as God's child, I was impaired to respond in the wake of communities whose homes were underwater, hospital clinics that were forced to close as vital equipment was severely damaged, families who could only be reached through airdropping food and supplies from helicopters, schools that closed as roofs blew away, and the plight of persons who were left to sleep under the stars as they no longer had beds. With God's power active with me and so many others, I woke up to the realities that people in Jamaica were facing, challenges, and God's ideas guided me in offering assistance. I took to social media and described the plight and stories of people as well as my own sentiments. And by doing that, something miraculous happened. Thank you, God, for the inspiration to do so. I was able to raise funds that would bring many needed items to the island. We are still clearing items from the wharf. Some of our items are sitting even now at Bishop Jack's church in Atlanta, about to be shipped off to Jamaica so that we can again bless individuals who require it most. By God's grace, something miraculous happened in our spiritual community and in our local ministry. We were able to partner with the foundation to ship needed items that communities specifically made a request for. In other words, we did not assume we knew what they wanted. We asked them what was required now. We're still in clearance mode, moving items from the wharf and into communities that could use the items. A special thanks to many people who donated to our efforts. For those who woke up to the plight of others, I'm going to say that again. For those who woke up to the plight of others and acted through a positive response, I thank you sincerely. Isn't this the way we fulfill the great commandment? To love God, to love others, and to love ourselves? Isn't this the way that we meet urgent needs, seeming needs? God has given us the power. That is the authority and dominion enabling us to exercise mastery over the conditions, the circumstances, and the situations that confront us. I repeat to you, the power of God is within us, and it ain't going nowhere. We are living in an age where we're called to exercise, and to exercise is a verb, our power, not to shrink in power. You see, when we wake up, we can no longer slumber or take naps with inequity and inequality. The power of divine is within every soul, and our task is to live as though we are awake to the imbalance and inequities that our neighbors and some of you in this very room face every single day. Let's not slumber or take naps with inequity and inequality. When we wake up, we can no longer warm ourselves in the blanket of injustice and then preach from our platform that God is a God of freedom, that the Holy Spirit is love, while unjust policies and practice are never mentioned, thus indicating no interest in the challenges members of our congregation or our colleagues or our neighbors may face every single day. People come to our spiritual community because they are hurting in some way. We are centers of healing, and we are here to provide the prescription. which is that God has empowered us to be what we need to be, to raise up and to meet every single moment, no matter what it is. Folks, when we wake up, we no longer find comfort on laying on the pillow that lulls us into a consciousness of separation over inclusion. God plays no favorites, no respecter of persons we preach and teach. God is love, we sing. God is one, we pray. But do we dare witness the suffering of persons around us? Is not their plight our own? Or is it a television screen away? Maybe it is happening in the community on the other side of town and has nothing to do with us. Perhaps it's a problem for those people, you know, those over there. Like Elie Wiesel said in his book, Night, we heard of the plight of the Jews in Poland or Hungary, but we did nothing. Then the Germans came for us. Let us wake up to the spiritual fabric. For one people, we are. And we are made of the same fabric, and that fabric is the Spirit of the living God. When we wake up, we can no longer lay on the sheets of lies, deceit, and denial of the truth that is presented to us as though it were the truth. A lie is a lie, no matter how enticing its appearance. Dr. H. Emily Cady, New Thought pioneer, wrote in her book, How I Use Truth, in the chapter, and I love this chapter, The Unadulterated Truth. She says, we cannot afford to spend a moment's time agreeing with the lie. For if we do, we ourselves shall be the overcome instead of the overcomers. We must rise to the highest, most sweeping statements of truth that we know. Whatever is not of God, synonymous with good, is a lie. Whatever keeps us living in separation from each other is not of God. It is a lie. Whomever says you get to cast a meaningful vote and I don't is a liar. Whatever policy says women in their maternal health in consultation with their physician doesn't matter is a lie. Whatever attitudes say any person doesn't deserve to simply breathe or sleep in their own bed or walk the street or hold down a job and take care of their family, or seek a better life, or shop in a store without distressing conditions because of systematic violence, those attitudes bear witness to a lie. Dr. Cady continues, and this lie must be instantly and constantly crushed on the head as a viper the moment it appears in our mentality. Hit the hydra-headed monster, the lie, as soon as it appears, with the positive statement, you are a lie. Get to where you belong. These are words, not mine. There is no truth in you. And then she continues, stop believing the lie. Oh, when we wake up and tell the truth. We no longer wrap ourselves in the comforter of the status quo, telling those who are hurting most or those who are fully willing and able to engage the status quo to simply wait. Not time yet. Slow down. God is a God of inspired action. And when we care, not just about ourselves, not just about our kin, we witness the plight of those around us. The voice of intuition within us inspires us in unimaginable ways. I completed my morning meditation and was a bit irritated by something that was happening on the news. A conversation began to brew in my soul as I began to pray, knowing that the power of truth is inside each soul. And when the soul is ready, that truth emerges. As I began to tie my shoes in preparation for going to work, words began to pour from me. Not sure of what was happening, I grabbed my ink pen and began to write what I heard. I wrote until the words stopped. I had the words typed out, not sure what to do with them. As I read them over, I thought, this sounds like a children's book. I filed the paper. The next day, a congregational member who lived in Connecticut, now I'm in Jamaica, called me and said, I want to let you know something. And I said, tell me, what is it? She said, I'm starting a publishing company for children's books. I said, what? She repeated the words, and I replied, I've got your first book. Ladies and gentlemen, Johnny Toots His Horn, available in Unity's bookstore from me and on Amazon, is here because I did not wait. The inspiration came, I wrote it down. I didn't ask for the inspiration, but it came nonetheless. When God's got something for you to do, don't tell God, wait, I'm not ready, I'm scared. When we wait, God says now. When something is in our hearts, it is there for a reason. Johnny Toots His Horn is a story about a youngster who is quite talented, but is unable to follow the instructions of his band leader. In the midst of his misbehaving, he is inspired to change because he sees the effects of his misbehaving as he is playing his musical piece before its time. He sees the effects that this has on his parents, his bandmates, his band teacher, and the audience to which he is playing. He apologizes and corrects his own behavior. Why? Because the power to self-correct is within us. Like Johnny, we must acknowledge the effects of our failure to respond. Let me say that again. Like Johnny, we must acknowledge the effects of our failure to respond. We must acknowledge our silence when negative and toxic effects are happening all around us. Johnny didn't say, I'll wait, and then change. He's changed, and so can we. So as I prepare to close, because I really want time for you to ask me questions. So I'm not taking all the time they've given me. So listen to this. If we in the New Thought community continue to take inspired steps like Johnny toward waking up, the nightmares of the world will stop. Like any nightmare, you can put an end to it if you wake up. My teacher, Dr. Mary Tompkins, said to me once, Sheila, what makes you think people want to wake up? They just don't want to have nightmares. But if you can stop any nightmare, if you wake up, stop running from the word woke and do your research and find out what it means, its origin, where it came from. If New Thought continues to take inspired steps toward waking up, the wrongs, the lies of the world will be challenged. Yes. The history that has brought us to this place will be embraced and not feared. Yes. It is fear that sparks a sense of separation from the goodness of God. That is why love is always the answer. It is our task to lovingly speak the truth and always, always, always deny the lie. In the New Thought community, we can continue to take inspired steps toward waking up if the mindset of you meant it for evil will be called out, so that what is meant for evil will be transformed and work together for good. There are people in our midst that are targets for less than good. I don't care how much you pray, they are targets for less than good. I have been one of them several times in my life. Many times in my life. I'm not even going to go into that. We can form alliances by speaking up for them, by listening to the children, their concerns, by not agreeing with rules, mindsets that cause injury to others or deprive another of their right to pursue happiness in ways that violate their rights to simply be here on the planet. We can recognize our privilege. Be here on the planet. I've got privileges. We can recognize, and I acknowledge that. But I use it to be a blessing. It was my privilege to serve as an attorney volunteer, an attorney monitor, Jackie, as votes in the last election were counted. It was a learning experience as I witnessed firsthand the decision to count some votes, discount other votes, and prosecute some even trying to vote. My voice in the room mattered, as did the voices of others. I was there for a reason, not to cause confusion, but to simply raise my hand and ask a question, as so many others in the room did. If New Thought continues to take inspired action toward waking up, a better life will be equally available. You see, the first statement of faith in the Universal Foundation for Better Living is this: it is God's will that every, say every, individual on the face of this earth should live a healthy, happy, and prosperous life. And I believe that. And I don't believe I have the right to stand in the way of anyone living a healthier, happier, and prosperous life when I want to live a healthier, happier, and prosperous life. The law of compensation says you must give what you want to receive. So let us not in new thought hold ourselves back when we've got our foot on somebody else's neck. That's a violation of spiritual principle. I don't care how many degrees you've got. I don't care how often you pray. You must get up and live the prayer you're praying. And it must be equally applicable to everybody, everywhere. Oh, I know y'all may have some questions for me. But you ain't heard nothing till you hear Reverend Darrell whenever he's on. I'm mild compared to him. We teach, the second statement is, we believe that this life, this healthy, happy, and prosperous life is within the reach of each one of us, and the way to its attainment begins with the realization that the kingdom of God is within you, waiting for you, passively waiting for you to bring into expression, passively waiting for you to love more, passionately waiting for you to share more, passionately waiting for you to show up with your gifts and your talents and your abilities and your experiences. All that has brought you to this moment is important. And it will bless the world. Yes, we are God's instruments, and God uses us all, as St. Francis of Assisi said long ago, when he said, "Let me be an instrument of your peace." And that includes the many manifestations of peace, like love and joy, compassion, caring, kindness, and happiness. But we must be willing to be used. I had to be willing to write down what was coming through. I had to be willing to look outside of Kingston and into the lives of people who were sleeping under the stars. Even here, the little boy didn't want food. He didn't even want water. He just simply said, "Ma'am, would you happen to have a blanket?" Somebody way in Virginia, a soror, heard me say this, and her 5th grade class got together. Even 5th graders got a gift. And the next thing I knew, they had over 100 blankets ready. How do we get them to you? I was moved to tears. We must be willing to be used. Our inspired prayers are doing something within us. You're not just praying to pray. Your inspired prayers are doing something within you. Don't hold back. They are not leaving you as you are. You are being transformed. Your mind is being renewed. Your heart is being changed. Your outlook is being expanded. And our understanding is being deepened. And our presence on earth, oh my Lord, is being felt. So God has empowered us to wake up. It is our task to stay woke. Woke to the truth that dispels every lie. And so it is.
That's all right if you feel like. Does anybody have any questions you'd like to ask Dr. Sheila? Anyone? They just want to applaud you.
Completion. I want us to just love one another. I just just want us to love one another enough to care. That's all I want. I don't want to clap. I don't do what I do for money. But I do it because it's my assignment. And if we leave here tonight, can they hear me on the live stream?
We have the live stream going. We do have it, don't we?
And if we leave here tonight just being willing to be used more. I'm not saying you're not being used now. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying we're not praying now. I'm not saying we're not moving on our inspiration now. I'm not saying that. But there's more. I thought I was doing enough when those words came. But there was more for me to do. And so while we talk about an unlimited God presence, we're limiting the presence all the time. Being narrow-minded, our own prejudices get in the way, and we have them. Let's admit that. We have them. And sometimes others don't get the relief because we close our eyes and shut our mouth when we can speak the word of freedom. I got a call. My son has been arrested. I was an assistant attorney general in Florida at the time. My son is being arrested. They're holding him as Corey somebody. Now I'm in my nice office. I look out the window, I see the ocean. Just privileged. Not that I haven't earned it. Because if you got anybody standing in my shoes or whatever, baby, let me tell you, they earned that. Nobody gave it to them. Let me tell you. And immediately, I had the privilege. I knew somebody in the prosecutor's office that would be prosecuting the case. At some point, somebody. And I said, listen, they've got so-and-so. They've got this person. They're under the wrong name. I know because the person's my cousin and it's my aunt who called me. And I've known him since he was a baby. And I know his name is not Corey. Whoever you're looking for. But I had that privilege. When I walked in the courtroom, the judge who swore me in was sitting behind the desk. Ms. McKeithen, you have business with the court today? Yes, I do. Come forward, please. And I have the privilege of doing that. Not to sit back and look out over the ocean and say a prayer. Now, I prayed before I left. And it brought me the right people who then knew the person holding him in the correctional facility who made the call. You're going to have a false identity here. You're going to be releasing him. So-and-so, we're headed to court. He's going to court. My aunt was sitting in the court, everything crying, because she's not used to this arresting her children. And I often think about that. And of course, he was released. Raise your right hand. I raise. And do you know this young man? I do. Who is he? He's my cousin, Your Honor. That's mother back there, Doretha. That's my auntie. That's my dad's sister. She literally raised me. This is her son. I said his name. And he's my cousin. His name is not and never has been Corey. And you swear before this court? I swear before this court, yes. Release him. Privilege. Acknowledge your privilege. Don't run from it. There are things you know I don't know. You can run in those spaces and you can do things I can't do because you have some information I don't have. Some of you look differently from me. You can show up and say something and they'll never believe me, but they'll believe you. But don't go in the room and talk against me. When you know what you're saying is not truth. Because you're getting some benefit. understand what I'm saying? That's really what I have to say. And let me tell you, I toiled over that talk. I toiled. I said, how do I say this? How am I nice? And all of the examples came. So tonight, there's a young man. I'm going to say this and then I'm going to stop so we can hear what Martha Creek has to say, because she's such a powerful speaker. So tonight, I just want to remember, I want you to just, Dale, could you just come and play something soft on the keyboard? I want to just remember. In 1857, there was a case before the U.S. Supreme Court, Dred Scott versus Sanford, that arose out of Missouri. U.S. Supreme Court judge who wrote the opinion in Dred Scott case, Roger B. Taney, wrote an opinion, and I quote, you can go and research it yourself. Black men, whether free or enslaved, have no rights which a white man was bound to respect. Dred Scott versus Sanford. And so property owners of slaves could take them anywhere, and even in free states. And even though they lived in free states for 10 years, they were not considered free. This is the ruling of the court. You have no rights that I must honor. That's the U.S. Supreme Court, not some foreign land. Then in 1936, there's a young man who finished his college. He wanted to go to the University of Missouri School of Law in 1936. He applied. But the Constitution of this state right here said that the races had to be educated separately. The U.S. Supreme Court, 2 years later, because they took it all the way to the Supreme Court, said that you had to provide him with an education. You couldn't just not. It said it had to be separate. So what's his separate education? So they remanded it. In March of 1939, young Mr. Gaines, who had superior grades, disappeared and was never heard from again. To this day, they don't know what happened to him. I want to remember him tonight. I want to remember in 1965, a Caucasian woman from Detroit, Michigan, who was moved by the March for the Voting Rights Act. She told her husband was a Teamster, union person. Something in me is calling and I have to go to Alabama. Viola Louiso was shot in the head and killed by a car full of Klansmen while driving. I want to remember her tonight. All people who are awake to the infinite possibilities of God within them. All people who just wanted something a little better, who wanted to reach a little higher, contribute a little bit more through their education, through their witness, who simply wanted the world to be a better place. And New Thought teaches being better, not being worse, but we teach. But is that what we live? Is it just better for us and your kids and your grandkids? Or is it better? Ever wants to strive for better in legitimate ways? That's what I wanted to say to you tonight. I'm striving for better. My spiritual teacher, the Reverend Dr. Mary Tompkins, said in her last talk at INTA in Phoenix, Arizona, there is always a higher rung that you can climb like a ladder. No matter where you are in life, there is always a higher rung to reach for. When you're angry, there's a higher rung to reach for. When you don't understand, there's a higher rung to reach for. When you're hurting, there's a higher rung of understanding to reach for. May not be evident, but we teach you reach nonetheless, because with God's help, you'll reach it, you'll attain it, and those looking on will say thank you for not turning around, for not stopping, for not quitting, for not giving up, because you've inspired me. As the song says, which you probably don't know, I'm gonna run on because I know what the end